Welcome to Conviction and Controversy, a space for reason, conscience, and honest reflection.
What Stoicism got wrong about control. There's this sentence from Epictetus that every modern Stoic quotes: some things are in our control, and some things are not. It's the opening line of the Enchiridion, and it's supposed to be the foundation for freedom. But the older I get, the more life I actually live. The more I realize that this line isn't as simple as it sounds. In fact, I think the way we interpret it today is dangerously incomplete. Because when real suffering hits, the world doesn't divide neatly into mine and not mine. Epictetus was trying to teach personal agency to people who had almost none. He was speaking to slaves, soldiers, and ordinary citizens living under emperors who could kill on a whim. His message was radical. You choose how you respond, and that's powerful. But here's where we go wrong. We treat that sentence like a shield that should protect us from the emotional reality of life. As if recognizing the limits of our control should make us feel less pain, less fear, less confusion. It doesn't. The truth is, you can't simply categorize your emotions the way you categorize your possessions. Control isn't a clean line. It's a spectrum of influence. You can steer your behavior, you can try to guide your thoughts, but you can't control how trauma reshapes your nervous system. You can't control the past that built you, and you sure as hell can't control the way your body reacts when life hits hard enough to break you open. That's the part Stoicism didn't fully prepare me for. Not the philosophy itself, but the way we modern people practice it, like it's a psychological hack, a productivity system, a way to turn off discomfort. But Stoicism wasn't meant to make you numb. It was meant to make you honest. And honest people don't pretend control is simple. They admit that sometimes the storm gets inside you, even when you do everything right. Epictetus said, "We suffer not from events, but from our judgments about them." It's one of the most misunderstood lines in all of philosophy. Because trauma isn't a judgment, and anxiety isn't a judgment. Bipolar swings, PTSD flashbacks, depressive collapses. These aren't thoughts you choose. These are neurological earthquakes. You don't think your way out of them. You survive them. You learn through them. And you rebuild with the pieces left afterward. I used to beat myself up for not being stoic enough. Like I was failing the philosophy because I couldn't force my mind into perfect alignment. I thought control meant mastery. I thought if I struggled emotionally, it was because I wasn't disciplined enough. But that was the trap. That's where Stoicism, or at least the modern version of it, becomes a cage instead of a compass. Because sometimes the strongest people are the ones who feel the most deeply. Epictetus himself lived through unimaginable pain. He was tortured as a slave. His leg was shattered by his master. And history suggests he lived most of his life crippled. So when he talked about control, he wasn't pretending that pain could be reasoned away. He was saying something subtler. Pain happens to you, but suffering shapes you. It's not about avoiding suffering. It's about choosing what that suffering turns you into. But somewhere along the way, many of us started treating emotional struggle like a moral failure. As if Stoicism means never breaking, never crying, never admitting weakness. But weakness isn't the opposite of control. Weakness is the field where control is learned. You don't become stronger by denying your limits. You become stronger by confronting where you don't have control and learning how to hold yourself together anyway. Control isn't a switch you flip. It's a relationship with yourself, and relationships are messy. The Stoics didn't always say that clearly enough. They wrote about rational mastery because they believed humans could rise above instinct. But rising above instinct doesn't mean ignoring it. Discipline without compassion becomes cruelty, especially when you turn it inward. Here's what Stoicism tends to get wrong. It treats the mind like a citizen of a perfectly ordered inner city. If only you arrange your thoughts, set your values, control your desires, you'll be free. But your mind isn't a city. It's a battlefield. It's a forest. It's inherited terrain shaped by childhood, biology, trauma, memory, fear, faith, longing forces so ancient and deep that you don't control them. You negotiate with them. Stoicism assumes we're all starting from roughly the same inner foundation. We're not. Some people carry storms inside them that Epictetus never had the language for. And pretending control is equally available to everyone is a lie that makes suffering worse. The truth is more human than that. Control is not a right. It's not a default. It's not a button you press. It's something you wrestle for. Something you fail at. Something you build one honest moment at a time. But here's the part. Stoicism got beautifully right, even if we often twist it. Epictetus never said, "Control everything inside you." He said, "Recognize what is yours." There's a difference. Your brain chemistry is not yours. Your trauma is not yours. Your body's survival responses are not yours. But your effort, your choices, your integrity, your direction, those belong to you. Even in chaos, Stoicism gives you the tools, but it doesn't tell you how heavy the tools will feel. It teaches acceptance, but it doesn't tell you acceptance is sometimes grief. It teaches discipline, but doesn't always tell you that discipline can break into obsession when you're scared. And it teaches control, but sometimes gives the illusion that control is possible everywhere effort is applied. It isn't. Real control, the kind Epictetus points toward, but never fully maps, is the ability to stay aligned with your values while the world doesn't cooperate. It's the ability to keep showing up, even when your emotions don't match your intentions. It's the courage to admit when you're not in control at all, and to keep living anyway. We get lost when we treat self-control as suppression. That's not what Epictetus meant. He meant ownership. Ownership of your choices, your behavior, your words, not ownership of your emotional, whether you cannot command the storm, but you can decide the kind of person you want to be while it passes through you. What Stoicism got wrong about control wasn't the concept, it was the simplicity. Life is not a two-column list where you sort your fears, your responsibilities, your losses, your relationships, your trauma, into neat categories of mine and not mine. Sometimes the most important things in your life fall in the middle. Sometimes the boundaries blur. Sometimes you don't know where influence ends and surrender begins. That middle space is where real courage lives. It's where most of healing happens. It's where strength grows. And that's the part Stoicism didn't talk about enough. The emotional uncertainty of being human. The days when you're trying your hardest and nothing inside you listens. The nights when your mind refuses to quiet down. The moments when discipline doesn't feel noble, it just feels exhausting. This is where I think Epictetus would agree with me if he were standing in front of me today. Control is not the point. Character is the point. The ability to face your reality, even when your reality scares you. The ability to speak truth to yourself, even when it hurts. The ability to keep growing, even when you feel broken. That's what makes a person strong. Not the illusion of mastery, but the willingness to stay present without it. If you've ever felt like you're failing at Stoicism, because you can't control your mind the way a philosopher on paper seems to, you're not failing, you're living. You're doing what Epictetus did, navigating a world that doesn't bend to your will, and you're discovering what he knew but couldn't always articulate. You don't become free by controlling everything inside you. You become free by choosing who you are while everything inside you changes. So maybe we need to update Stoicism for real human beings. Maybe we need to stop pretending control is the goal and start treating honesty as the real virtue. Honesty about your limits. Honesty about your pain. Honesty about your humanity. Because the truth is, the more honest you are, the more control you actually gain, not over the world, but over your direction in it. Control, in the Stoic sense, is not power, it's clarity. It's the ability to differentiate between responsibility and self-punishment, between discipline and self-harm, between resilience and denial. And when you finally understand that difference, something shifts. You stop trying to conquer everything and start learning how to live in partnership with your own mind. That's the kind of control Stoicism didn't talk about, but desperately needs, the kind rooted in compassion, not conquest. In patience, not pressure. In acceptance, not avoidance. The kind of control that makes you more human, not less. And the kind that allows you to face whatever life brings with a heart that stays open, even when everything feels out of your hands. Because at the end of the day, control is not about dominating your emotions. It's about refusing to abandon yourself when you feel them. And that's the lesson Epictetus started, but one we are still learning how to finish.
Thanks for spending a few minutes thinking this through with me. If you value honest reflection, subscribe and start here next. Conviction and Controversy, a voice for honest reflection.